Good morning. Thursday morning, November 18. Welcome everyone on this chilly morning. A little bit of low fog hanging in the valley right over to my left. Mike and Joe Stromberg, good morning to you. There's some cows feeding up the hill to my right. Good morning, Wendy. I can't say Wendy and Jeremy because I know, Wendy, you are in Shaver Lake right now. Janisa, good morning. Debbie King, Daryl and Suzanne, welcome. So even cold in Arizona. Sonia, good morning to you. Jim and Kathy, Karen Perry, welcome to you. I love seeing that name in the list this morning. Karen Lowe, good morning. So Laura Bakovich, good morning to you. So good to see you, Karen Perry, and our thoughts are never far from you and the boys and Marcus, and hope you're doing really well. Be blessed today. Deanne Fine. Did I see Dana's name? Dana Kreshock. Stephen Andrea, good morning to you. So this morning, I wasn't in Ecclesiastes, and I was doing more extra work on my message for Sunday. So Sunday in Acts, we are introduced to Timothy. Timothy joins Paul and Silas as they begin their second missionary journey. So I was doing some back study on Timothy this week, and this morning I was continuing in that. And one of the things that stands out to me about how Paul disciples and Timothy's testimony, I'm going to bring out this morning is the Paul's his charge to Timothy to make sure he's watching his life as much as his doctrine. Obviously, we value sound doctrine. Paul values sound doctrine, but we can undermine the truth of what we say if our life doesn't match that truth. They both have to be in alignment. And so the verse I'm going to read this morning is in 1 Timothy. And so this is a letter that Paul has written to Timothy. This is late. This is after the book of Acts, likely after the book of Acts has been written. The book of Acts ends with Paul imprisoned in a what do you call that? A house arrest in Rome. And based upon everything we know about what's happening in world history at this time and the later epistles of Paul, it appears that Paul was released after 2 years in that house arrest situation. He goes on and moves freely and teaches and continues to plant churches and visit the churches he's already planted. Until a later imprisonment that he actually is martyred after. But it's during that later time that Acts doesn't record. Acts is already written, and so Paul is moving about doing ministry, yet still writing a couple of late epistles like 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus likely, that he pens these words. So Timothy is no longer traveling with Paul all the time. He has much more of a leadership responsibility, some autonomy. So he's leaving him behind in cities that he's visited. He's sending him to different places to continue to train churches and so on. And so his first letter to Timothy, he has left Timothy in Ephesus. So they're not together. And he's put him there with the responsibility of continuing to train the leadership in sound doctrine and continue to emphasize what kind of character qualities their leadership should have, and so on. And there's some false teaching happening in Ephesus, so Timothy was supposed to be correcting that. And so this is one of the things that Paul says to Timothy while he's doing this. Now Timothy's a young man, so he mentions this, and I'll comment a little bit more on that for context. He says this in verse 12. This is Paul's words to Timothy. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. So he's already told him about, make sure you're teaching sound doctrine, remind them of the most important things, teach them these things. But along with teaching and the importance of sound doctrine, Paul says it's really important that you are living the life. You're teaching them how to just live out the gospel. So let no one despise you for your youth. So Timothy's in a position of teaching older, the elders. In our modern use of the term, and especially at Grace, elders could be a range of ages. We are looking at someone who is spiritually mature, primarily who's lived a life with consistency for a period of time, who knows sound doctrine, who can refute false doctrine. But that person could be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s. Whereas in the New Testament times, elders weren't just a designation of a particular office in the church. They actually were the older men in that place. And so Timothy, being a younger man, so Timothy's likely in his late 30s, so not young by the world's standards, even at that age. Remember, Jesus was early 30s, 31, 32, 33, when he is changing the world with the message as the Son of God. He was a respected rabbi in many circles, not the elite rabbis. Obviously, they conspired to kill him. But they saw him as a threat, and he's in his early 30s. So Timothy's not necessarily young by just qualification of our life's journey and how they viewed people at that age, but he was younger than the elders whom he was put in place to teach and to train and continue to admonish in what sound doctrine looks like and what a life of good character would look like. And so Paul says your best strategy here with these older men whom you are in charge of training is to live out your faith just as importantly as knowing what sound doctrine is. You don't want to just be puffed up with knowledge. You have to serve in humble obedience to that sound doctrine and let your life be just on display. He says, I'll read it again. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. And a couple verses later, he says this, practice these things. Practice obviously implies repetition. We're doing this regularly, over and over. We're watching our life and doctrine closely. He says, practice these things. Immerse yourself in them, so that all may see your progress. So even in the short time that Timothy is in Ephesus, he's probably there for a couple of years in this responsibility. In that relatively short period of time, Paul is saying, if you devote yourself, if you immerse yourself in not only teaching sound doctrine, but living out the godly life, there is an expectation that you will be growing. You will be progressing, and that progress will be observable. And that's going to be your testimony. That's going to be the qualities that will earn you the kind of respect necessary for you to teach and do the things I'm calling you to do. Timothy's there initially. I mean, they well know, they knew Timothy well. I mean, Timothy was with Paul when he founded the church in Ephesus. He stayed there for 3 years in his third missionary journey. He's revisited Ephesus more than once after his, both before and after his Roman imprisonment, his first Roman imprisonment. And so they know Timothy, but they probably know him best through Paul and their respect for Paul. So Timothy has respect because he's an emissary of Paul's. Now he's there by himself, and Paul is saying, just live it out. Live out the gospel, and you will have a strong voice there, the voice you need to have to do the things I've called you to do. And so that's kind of the backstory of that passage. But as it applies to our life, the encouragement today is practice these same things. Persevere in them. It's our day-to-day consistency. Not that we are doing the right thing every day and we never do something wrong. It's not perfection. It's progress. It's a sense that I may not do it right all the time, but I am faithful to persevere in my progress. You should see over a 1 to 2 year period of any of our lives, people who you're working with, your family members, people who know you, who see you kind of in the day-to-day, they're the ones who could say, wow, I really see your faithfulness. I really see that this isn't just a sprint, this is a marathon, that you are really staying the course here, and I see how you are growing. I remember in my 20s, I adopted this philosophy of life that I have endeavored to adhere to my entire life. And it's looked different through different seasons of my life. But that philosophy is this, that the people who know me best, who see me day in and day out, I want this set of my life. This feels a little ambitious from this vantage point of my life, but it really has driven me, is this. Those who know me best, I want them to say this about me. Mark, I have known you for a lot of years, but I have never seen you grow more than in the last 6 months. I want that to be said of my life. I said that in my 20s, and I've tried to endeavor to live this. I want people to see my life and see that I'm constantly endeavoring to grow, constantly laying my life down to the revelation of God as He reveals it to me day in, day out. And I'm yielding my heart, yielding my pride, yielding my ego, serving people consistently, open to learn and grow from the Lord as the Spirit teaches me day in and day out. 6 months, now in hindsight, I'm 54. 6 months, 6-month period, that's a bit ambitious, I think, for someone to see in a 6 months period a tremendous amount of growth. Sometimes, yes, but consistently, I don't know. I've adopted more a saying in the recent couple of years that that kind of real big growth is measured more in decades than it is in years, and I believe that's true. But we can still say, I can still keep the saying that I want to grow in a 6-month period, in a noticeable way. And whether I can actually do that or not, at least I'm endeavoring. And of course, over the longer period, people are still going to see my progress. And so that's the goal today. Don't get discouraged. Paul would write this even in Galatians, do not grow weary in doing good, for in due time you will reap a harvest of righteousness. We just have to persevere day in, day out. Just do it today. If you feel overwhelmed by the big picture, just do it today. And then tomorrow you wake up, I'm going to do this today. And the next day, and the next day. Just take it a day at a time. And let that 6-month period, that year-long period, speak for itself. If you're doing it day in, day out, not just reading the Bible, not just listening to a podcast or going to church and hearing the message or attending a Bible study, you're not just learning sound doctrine, but you are actively walking in obedience to that knowledge and to that revelation of God. Because your transformed life, the progress that people see in you, the people that work with you day in and day out, and your family members, your neighbors, whomever is your circle, they will see your progress, and they will praise God. They will see the if they're not believers, they'll see the validity of your faith. This is the real deal. You're not just a flash in the pan. You're not just excited today, but you're doing something completely different tomorrow. Your life is, your heart has belonged to the Lord. And so persevere today, just today, then again tomorrow, then again tomorrow. People will see your progress and know that you love the Lord. And if they're, my prayer is that testimony will be what you can draw from for the reality of who Jesus is. So be blessed today. We'll see you on Sunday. If you're here locally, we'll see you Monday right back here in the live stream. Have a great weekend. God bless you.